Once upon a time, there was an old monk who embarked on the path of spiritual practice, seeking the truth. He had endured many trials and tasted the bitterness of life, yet he still harbored a great aspiration to uncover the roots of reality and find peace within his heart. One day, a disciple came to him and asked, "Master, who is your teacher?" That simple question brought the master into deep thought. His eyes sparkled with a gentle smile, as calm as a river's flow. He replied, "My teachers, if I were to list them all, I would need 10 lifetimes, but there are 3 who left the deepest impression on me." The master slowly closed his eyes, as though sinking back into the distant memories of his youth. The disciple sat quietly beside him, waiting patiently, and in the stillness, the master's voice rose like a gentle mountain stream, soothing and clear. "My first teacher was an old beggar. At that time I was young, full of thirst for knowledge, and eager to discover the truth. I left home, determined to find a teacher in the mountains. However, on one journey, I got lost in a dense forest. Darkness surrounded me, and I began to feel fear and loneliness, unsure of how I would make it through the night. Just then, I saw a small flickering light, and there I met an old man, a beggar in the forest." The master paused briefly, as if reliving that moment, then continued. "The old man, with his tattered appearance and weather-beaten face, had kind, sparkling eyes. I shared my journey with him, and he smiled gently, inviting me to join him. I followed him for many months. We had no roof over our heads, only the sky and earth as our shelter. Each morning we would beg for food, drinking water from a small stream. Through cold winter nights and scorching summer days, he remained cheerful, never complaining, without a word of resentment against life. Every evening before sleeping, he would murmur to the sky, 'Thank you, heaven, for taking care of me. I trust tomorrow will be even better.'" The master looked out into the distance. His gaze softened with a slight smile, and then he said slowly, "Those hard days with the beggar taught me that true tranquility doesn't come from wealth or abundance, but from a heart filled with gratitude for each moment in life." For him, every grain of rice was a gift, every drop of water a blessing. His inner peace was the first lesson I needed to understand. Later, when facing the harsh trials of monastic life, I always remembered the beggar and his words, which helped me keep my heart steady. The disciple listened intently, his eyes full of admiration and curiosity. The master continued, "My second teacher was a small dog. This might sound strange, but that little dog taught me a vital lesson. One day, I was walking along a stream to fetch water when I saw a dog lapping up the cool water. But when it saw its own reflection in the water, it was startled, backed away, and barked loudly. Moments later, gathering all its courage, it jumped into the stream, touching its own reflection, which then disappeared. The dog didn't know it was frightened by its own shadow, but in the end, it was brave enough to jump in and face it." The master smiled as he continued, "From that, I realized that a person's greatest fear is often the fear of facing themselves. Fear isn't just a reaction to external danger, it's an unending battle with the hidden parts of our inner selves. Our own shadow, our shortcomings, mistakes, and worries is an adversary that causes many to retreat. But to reach the end of the path to truth, one prerequisite is essential: courage to look into those shadows, even to step into them and move beyond. I remember that little dog who was startled by its own reflection in the water, yet finally dared to jump in. That simple action revealed a profound truth. Only when we dare to plunge into life, to confront our insecurities, our past, and our inner self, can we touch true peace. Every feeling of helplessness, vague anxiety, and deep pain, all are lessons that help us grow, as long as we don't run away, but instead dare to step forward. The lesson from that little dog became etched in me, a reminder that the journey of self-discovery has no shortcuts. Each step demands honesty, the courage to acknowledge what we fear most, and the bravery to confront it. That little dog, though without a word, taught me a lesson worth more than 1,000 sermons. It reminded me that sometimes the greatest courage isn't in conquering others, but in conquering oneself. Hearing this, the disciple couldn't help but feel moved. The master gently placed his hand on the disciple's shoulder. His warm voice continued to resonate. My third teacher was a young boy, and a short conversation with him left me with a profound lesson that I still carry to this day. On that day, while passing through a village, I met a young boy holding a candle on his way to the temple. Though he was small, his steps were steady. Seeing me, he stopped and respectfully bowed. Drawn by his pure presence, I decided to engage him. "Did you light this candle yourself?" I asked as a kind of test. The boy nodded, his face blooming with a confident smile. I looked at the candle burning brightly in his hand and asked further, "When the candle is lit, there is light. When it is unlit, there is no light. So, can you tell me where this light comes from?" The boy looked straight into my eyes, without a hint of confusion. After a moment's thought, he gently blew out the candle, letting the thin trail of smoke dissolve into the air. Then he looked up, and with a clear voice, asked me, "Master, then where did the light just go?" That moment jolted me awake from my deeply held beliefs and preconceived notions. The light had come and gone, a fleeting manifestation of truth, shining brightly one moment, extinguished the next. I realized that no matter how profound our understanding, it can be clouded by our own biases. Truth isn't confined to concepts, not something we can seize or possess, but something that constantly moves, transforms, and transcends all boundaries of thought. I came to understand that truth cannot be limited by knowledge or grasped through mere concepts. It must be felt by a mind unbound, unburdened by preconceptions. The candle, when lit, shines and dispels darkness for a brief moment. But when my arrogance and narrow thinking blow it out, that light disappears, leaving the world in shadow again. Just as light exists only when the candle burns, truth shines only when we remain humble and continue to explore. Every notion, every achievement, if bound by arrogance, becomes the wind that extinguishes the candle within, leaving only emptiness and darkness. It was then that I saw myself as a traveler, walking endlessly on a path with no final destination. Truth, like a field of light, exists only in each step I take, each moment I open my heart to receive it, not something to own or conquer. The boy's lesson taught me that to see the truth, we must keep our hearts wide open and always remember that our knowledge is but a grain of sand in an endless desert. That was the most profound lesson the boy, unknowingly, gifted me. The master's voice softened as if he was speaking to his own heart. From that boy, I also learned something essential. Truth is neither distant nor belongs to anyone. It exists in each vibrant moment of life, simply waiting for us to be still and humble enough to perceive it. The truth cannot be captured or defined with words. It exists only when we fully open ourselves to receive it, like the light that shines in the candle, then quietly fades away when it's blown out. In that instant, my pride and self-importance dissolved. That young boy with the candle unwittingly became my teacher, with just one simple yet profoundly wise question. I understood then that true wisdom isn't found in scholarly knowledge or eloquent speech, but in the ability to let go of the ego, to recognize our limits, and to merge with the ever-changing flow of the universe. And from then on, I vowed to keep my heart humble, like that candle, sometimes shining brightly, sometimes extinguished, but never arrogant. The master looked at his disciple, his eyes filled with compassion and deep understanding. His voice was calm, yet each word rippled like waves, transmitting a precious gift. In my journey of learning, I discovered that everything around me is my teacher, from the simplest elements of nature to the people I meet. If we are humble enough to listen, all will bring us priceless lessons. They are not great sages, nor famed intellectuals. They are an old beggar, a small dog, and a boy with a candle. But they opened the doors of truth in my life, lessons that cannot be found in books, but only felt through experience and silent listening. The master smiled, as though recalling every moment spent with those special teachers. The beggar taught me gratitude and showed me that true peace comes not from material abundance, but from acceptance and love for life, no matter its challenges. The small dog, with its courage, taught me to confront the shadows within my soul, the fears and insecurities we create ourselves. And the boy with the candle showed me that sometimes truth is beyond explanation, and that true understanding requires us to let go of our ego and open our hearts to receive. The master bowed his head slightly, as if reminding himself, "To me, life is an endless school, where everything and everyone can teach us something. Everything that exists is interconnected, and only by understanding these deep connections can we appreciate life in its entirety. If we are willing to learn, then everything in the world becomes our teacher. The world around us, whether people, animals, or inanimate objects, is an expression of universal wisdom. If we are humble enough to listen, they will tell us the lessons we need to learn." The disciple listened closely, his heart full of reverence and emotion. The master's words opened up a new horizon, where the disciple understood that the journey of learning has no end, that truth is not something to be obtained or conquered, but rather lessons that endlessly appear in daily life. His master's story was a reminder that truth often lies in the simplest things, and only when we bow our heads in humility can we see and learn from them. In that moment, the disciple saw not only his master as an enlightened teacher, but also as a humble student of the vast universe. In his journey of learning, the master had found his greatest teachers in simplicity, for it is in the simplest things that the highest truths reside. The story concluded in a sense of peace, yet it sparked a new journey in the listener's heart, where they understood that each day, each moment, each event in life could be a precious lesson if we are willing to listen and learn. The master's teachings echoed like a distant melody, guiding us to ponder the connections in life. In a world full of change and turmoil, the master's story was a reminder that we can always find peace and wisdom in the simplest things around us. Whether it's the image of the beggar, the dog by the water, or the boy with a candle, each is a valuable lesson that helps us find calmness, open our hearts, and perceive the divine presence in everyday life. The story of the master and his teachers truly illustrates that life itself is the greatest teacher. Only when we bow our heads to listen, to learn from what we often overlook, can we grow, find truth, and discover tranquility within our own souls. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, share it with others, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more insightful content. Spread the wisdom by sharing this video with your loved ones. Thank you for watching.